Hi everyone, Zoe here. So today we're here to talk about the PlayStation event that took place just yesterday. I'm just going to give some of my opinions on both some of the games that we saw and the hardware. Now, I won't be covering all of the games because some of them just didn't really give too much to go off of, especially some of the ones that didn't even show any gameplay at all. I guess I should start off with what Sony started off with, and that's Grand Theft Auto 5. And wow, that was such a big disappointment for me because, don't get me wrong, I like the game. I played the entire campaign, I played the online a bit. It's a good game. And the new content, well, that would be nice. Like, who's really excited for this? Especially since we know the next Grand Theft Auto is already in development. Now, for the first big news, and that's something to get exciting about, is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Obviously, it's going to be pretty much like the previous Spider-Man game on the PS4, which is fine because that game is fantastic, and it's a case of don't don't fix what isn't broken. My only question is, why did he look older in the gameplay? Maybe this takes place in the near future, but what I would like to at least hope see in the game is that they let you see him get the powers and explain his character a little better for those who are new to the character. Either way, this game is gonna probably be really good and probably be a reason for many to pick up the system. I gotta admit, I've never played a Ratchet and Clank game before in my life, but Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart actually looks quite fun. It looks like a really good colorful adventure. It's the way it's very colorful and has a nice variety of settings, and each really pops out and stands out that they showed on there. And I'm guessing they probably didn't even show everyone. I was really taken back by this because it's a game that I now look forward to playing in the future. And oddly, it's probably one of the best presented games of the night. It showed a pretty good amount of gameplay. It looked fantastic throughout. The next game, Athea, looks very beautiful from what they shown, but it really lacked any gameplay footage. I think what makes it most noteworthy here is that it's going to be a PS5 console exclusive that's made by Square, but it will also be coming to the PC, which is great because honestly, that's my preferred platform is the PC. So it doesn't really affect me personally, but this is a downer for those who don't end up with a PS5 and don't already own a PC. I kind of wish that these third-party exclusives would become a thing of the past. Returnal seems to want to be a sci-fi. I don't even know if it's supposed to be horror. I'm honestly not sure because it didn't really seem to go for a scary vibe, but at the same time it did. I don't know. But it uses a constant death and resurrection storyline. The main character dies, comes back, has to struggle all over again only to die again kind of thing. And that's been used in many kinds of stories before it, which is fine to use such a plot device in a game nowadays, or any form of other media. It's been done very well before, in fact. But with the small amount of gameplay shown, it just looks very, very generic. And the atmosphere that they showed was just really dull. Like, is this supposed to be scary? Yeah, it's dark, but it's not scary. I don't know. I don't really have high hopes for this game. I think it's going to be one of those titles that everyone just quickly forgets about. Sackboy: A Big Adventure is a spin-off from the Little Big Planet series. This title looks like an answer to have a 3D platformer, much like a modern Mario title, which is a good idea to have such a thing near launch, because despite platformers not being as popular as they were in the past, they certainly have a strong fan base. It looks very fun, and I do like that it clearly shows there's 4-player support on it, so it makes it probably the best known PS5 game right now that's going to be a couch co-op experience. Destruction All-Stars is really something unexpected. I never expected to see something like a Destruction Derby type game. being one of the games that are touted out as a big release for the PS5. I don't think anyone saw that coming. What's even more unique about this title is it's very cartoonish and over the top rather than like a serious Destruction Derby game. And the most bizarre thing about it is that drivers can either exit or be knocked out of their cars and still be able to play within that round and affect the game. It's very colorful as well, and it really presents itself to be something that's to look forward to in some ways. It's not even my cup of tea personally, but I would like to play it. I don't think this will be a game that we're going to be talking about in years to come, but hey, it seems to be fun. Kina, or is it Kina? I'm not sure exactly. It looks to be very inspired by the modern 3D Zelda games, which isn't a bad thing to go by. It's cartoonish and colorful and very pleasing on the eyes. The art is just perfect. You seem to collect and free little creatures that aid you throughout your journey, which is a neat little addition to such a game. I'm really not sure how to describe it more than Zelda-like. But that's again, it's not a bad thing. I do wonder if it's going to be an open world action RPG or not, though. It really didn't show anything that suggested it would be, but it also didn't show anything that suggested that it's not. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Oddworld Soulstorm. Alright, so this one is just, I'm not sure how to even talk about this because it's just so strange, because what Lord Lanning says before the opening of it being shown is that he's always wanted to make this game. That's really confusing to me because it's a remake of Abe's Exodus, a game that already exists. I don't understand what he means that he's always wanted to make this game. And Abe's Exodus was a fantastic game for its time, but he's pretending almost like it's not a remake? I don't understand what's going on here at all. It's not like he's some sort of new team member of the development team for the Oddworld developers, because he's the franchise creator and writer, and he's been with it since day one, and that franchise has to be over 20 years old now. I don't, it's the most bizarre thing, and I know it's just, I'm not exactly talking about the game itself here, but it was just so weird for him to say that. But enough about that. The game itself is an action platformer that mixes both humor and very dark and depressing reality set in the game. Typically this doesn't mesh in any type of media, but in the Oddworld series it always has, and they've always been solid games before, and given that it's a remake of Abe's Exodus, I don't see why it wouldn't. Godfall. Thankfully, just published by Gearbox and not actually developed by them, so it actually stands a chance of being good. I know, that sounds harsh, but really, look at all the games Gearbox has developed. They aren't all opposing force in Borderlands 2, are they? Anyhow, Godfall is a third-person action RPG that looks good and seems to have a fun-looking combat system. Very fluid, great animation. It looks very promising, and I really hope it's as good as it looks. I think this would be a solid entry for an early PS5 game. Ghostwire. The start of this trailer had me excited, but that quickly faded away. It turned into a complete disaster in my opinion. Once the gameplay was shown, it looks like nothing special at all, and quickly removes the quality horror vibe that it had just a moment ago before it actually showed the gameplay. Also, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but Tokyo also should look much more vibrant than it does in that game. I get it's trying to be spooky, so it can't quite live up to, what Tokyo actually looks like, but it didn't capture it at all, in my opinion. And the first-person combat didn't look like anything to write home about, and it greatly takes away from the threat that the evil spirit, whatever they may be, ghosts, demons, whatever. I totally lost interest on what they were even supposed to be at that point. The threat that they supposedly pose is just gone when you see that first person ass kicking thing where they just seem to have like no real threat towards the player character. They really dropped the ball on that. Maybe the game is actually good, but this game trailer did not do it any favors, in my opinion. Hitman 3. Wow, it seems like such little time before the last one just came out. They're really turning these things out, aren't they? And they're not bad games. I've liked the Hitman series even before they turned into this modern live service form. And the live service ones aren't bad for sure. They're good. Basically, for those unaware, Hitman is a stealth game that encourages you to kill your target, or targets in some cases, on a giant map and try to avoid or killing or alerting or causing any suspicion whatsoever that you're out there to do harm to anyone at all. The best result you could always get is taking out your target without anyone ever even noticing. All in a 3D adventure, which can be done in so many different ways, typically. The most amusing thing about the franchise is the absolutely ridiculous, but really, really funny disguise mechanic. Like, if you steal someone's clothes, chances are you're gonna be able to just slip through people that you normally wouldn't be able to, as if no one would notice. Like, if you stole the clothes of a cook of a house, for example, despite you looking nothing like the cook, everyone will just let you walk right by them, kind of thing. It's absurd, but it's probably the best thing about Hitman in the entire franchise at the same time. Sadly, this one doesn't seem to be very graphically pleasing. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look bad. It just looked almost the same, if not the same as the recent games. And for a game that's going to be something you're pushing as a main title for the PlayStation 5, that doesn't quite make sense. I wish it just looked at least a little bit graphically better. The next title I'd like to talk about is Bug Snacks. I don't even know where to begin on this because not only did it not show much gameplay, the trailer itself didn't even really show what the game is really about other than eating bugs who are also snacks. So for example, the bug is a hamburger. But what's more bizarre is that when a character eats that bug, they also lose a body part of their own and it gets turned into the snack that they just ate. I really don't get what this is about, and I'm guessing it's trying to be the child-friendly release for the PS5, maybe? Like, the most innocent game? I don't know. I would really urge you, if you haven't already, to look at the trailer, because maybe you'll get it more than I did, but it's perhaps the weirdest game trailer I've ever seen in my life. So, Demon Souls is getting a proper remake finally. And in my opinion, it's about time. It's the perfect time to do so, really, because it's been a long while and a whole nother console generation passing by into the PS5 and skipping the PS4 for it seems like the right choice for me. It'll give it that nice push, whereas one generation wouldn't have. Sadly, it didn't really show much gameplay, but I would imagine it wouldn't go too far off from the original vision, so expect it to be very similar, but hopefully better in some ways. Deathloop. Who would have ever expected a second game to use the very same concept of dying and coming back over and over again endlessly at the same show? That really took me off guard to see that used once again. It's gotta be pure coincidence, too. This looks to be better than the other title as well, in my opinion. It's a first-person shooter where stealth and outright action seem to be viable choices from the gameplay they displayed. The inhabited world is strange enough for me to want to know more about it. The gameplay looks fun, and what's unique about it is how the bodies seem to vanish right away. It appears that everyone is under the same circumstances where death no longer has any meaning because they'll just keep coming back over and over again. It's a nice concept, I think, because it doesn't just apply it to the main character. I really look forward to actually trying this someday because the gameplay looked fun, the concept is good, the graphics, while not too great, are serviceable. It looks like a great time. Oh boy, so Resident Evil 8. This is probably my personal biggest game because I've been a fan of the Resident Evil series since the first game. Unfortunately, this trailer really lacked any gameplay. Everything seemed to just be scripted events that were shown, but it really seems to be odd compared to the previous Resident Evil games, taking a even darker tone, and it suggests much more fear and suffering of people that you didn't really see in previous titles. Like the entire village seems to be like suffering, not like turned in Resident Evil 4, but like most of them still appear to be people and just in terrible conditions. It'd be very interesting to see how we interact with this village. Like, do we get there in time before everything is out to kill us? Can we actually interact with this village and the villagers within? I would like that personally. That would really take Resident Evil to a whole new place if there was, a place where not everything is trying to kill you. It's also really bizarre to see that it's taking what appears to be vampires and werewolves as the main creatures to push, not like zombies or anything else. So this makes me wonder if the game is taking an entire new direction where instead you're fighting creatures created by a virus, but maybe now we're fighting mythological creatures? Or maybe they're weirdly made by the virus and just so happen to resemble such? I don't know, but it's certainly going to be interesting to see more about that being released. I look forward to the game. I love the series. I don't think this is an exclusive. I really doubt it. I don't think it said it. But, like, I would buy a PS5 just to play the Resident Evil series if I had to. Pragmata, yet another trailer without any gameplay whatsoever. Set in a bizarre setting where machinery is everywhere. It just makes no sense. They're in like a city that I think resembles New York, if my memory serves me right. And the characters were like this guy in like some sort of robotic suit and this little girl who has a robotic voice. It showed nothing of what the game will actually be like in any form of way through this. It really, really looked like it was going to be something like Hideo Kojima was partaking in, but no, he's not in it at all. In fact, it's a Capcom game. I don't understand it. I don't even know what to really even say here because it gave so little and was so bizarre. But the only reason why I mention it is because they're clearly trying to rip off the Hideo Kojima vibe in the trailer, like how he has done in previous trailers and work. So I really just hope that doesn't become a trend where developers and publishers and marketing teams or whatever try to make appeal in that way by stealing his sort of style. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but it's a game that has low expectations for me because if they're not willing to show a single thing that explains anything that's going on, then I don't have much faith in it. Horizon Forbidden West is also coming out for the PS5 soon after its launch. I hope they follow the formula of the first game, Horizon Zero Dawn, closely but expand upon it and make it even better. Like most trailers, once again, it didn't really show gameplay, but what they did show was beautiful, and a beautiful presentation of the landscape, of the characters. It looked amazing. I would not be surprised if this is the game that more people are excited about than any other, because the first game was pretty much a masterpiece in action and adventure, and in recent times there's not very many competitors to that. So I think this is a game that is going to come in with high expectations from just about everyone who plays it, and hopefully it lives up to those expectations. The PS5 controller is by far the most stylish looking controller I've ever seen in my life. I know it's been revealed before all of this, but my god, I cannot express how great that controller looks. Like, I just want to own it. Even if I never end up with a PS5 for some reason, I'm going to buy a controller just to use it on my PC if I have to. And I've never done this before, but I might even just buy two just to keep one in the box as a display because it looks so stylish and so sleek and so modern. It's the best thing that Sony has ever made in the terms of looks. It outshines everything from all the previous controllers or consoles or what any other company, whether it be Sega when they used to make consoles, or Nintendo, or Microsoft, or Atari, or anyone. Nothing competes against this. It is by far the most attractive controller to ever be made. As for the PS5 itself, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't get into anything like specs or any new features or capabilities that this console has over the previous generation. I'm sure that will come in time when they reveal more, but for such a reveal show that it was supposed to be like a big event, it was a letdown. As for the looks of the PS5, I personally like it a lot. I'm not going to say it's the best looking console ever, unlike the controller that absolutely is the best looking controller. It is nice. I like its sleek and modern design to it. I think it's clear they took inspiration off the PS2. If you look at the PS2 standing up and then compare it to the PS5, they're very similar. And that's a good thing because the PS2 was also a very good looking console for its time. The digital edition is certainly the better looking of the two, though, over the standard one with the disk drive. Because the one with the disk drive, they put it in a really awkward place, which makes it thicker on one end, and it looks like a unsightly bulge on it on one side of the PlayStation. Hopefully future models will correct that, but for now, what's for sure is the digital version is the better looking console. I wouldn't blame anyone for buying the disc drive version though, because having physical media is nice, and I must confess, I myself, if I had to make the choice right now, would get the disc drive version, because being able to use the discs and get the games in a physical form, for those of us who have been gaming for a long time, it just means something to have that physical game in your hand. This was Zoe from the Circle Jerks. I thank you for watching this video through and your viewership. If you would be so kind to consider liking and subscribing, I would be grateful.